1 year ago today, on Tuesday, January 17th, 2023, in Las Vegas, Nevada at SHOT Show 2023, Jason Klosner of Lipsey's announced that Glock was doing a 10,000 piece run of a Glock Gen 1 17 Classic. And we got one right here. Let's check it out. Milsurp Garage. So the Milsurp Garage is freezing, and I'm just getting over being deathly ill. So we are relocating to a warm indoor area for this video, and we're going to bring you the Lipsey's commemorative Glock 17 Gen 1 Classic, or Gen 1 Glock 17 Classic. Exactly, they call it. They call it the Glock 17 Classic. That's what Glock calls it. So what did they do here? They, a couple of years ago, so I think it was in 21 or something like that, they did a P80, which was the initial release of the Glock in the very early 80s for the Austrian military when they won the contract. Glock has a really interesting story. I'm going to show you where you could get that whole entire story too. I think I got a Glock video back there that really delves into a little bit of their history, but the history is a video in itself, you know what I mean? But I'm going to show you like a pretty cool book that could do a hell of a lot better at explaining their history than even I can. But the P80 really was the beginning. It wasn't really the Glock 17 per se. That was the beginning. The P80 was the initial government contract that they got. And this was basically the civilian version of it when they first started making the Glock 17. And it took till around 1986 before they started getting imported into the United States. And that first year, the reason why it would be interesting to come out with a commemorative like this is that, Glock changed over the years. The grips and some of the just the outside features, the way it looked on the outside, and people were very, very in tune with these changes and receptive or not receptive to a lot of the changes that they made. And it's pretty interesting because just something like adding finger grips on the outside or something would flip people out, where I've never seen that. I've seen other manufacturers make plenty of changes to how things look, aesthetically without, that they had something about Glock where they had this following where the people were very, very vocal about any little changes that were done. And the thing about this Gen 1 was that they went to the Gen 2 so quickly after its release in the United States, and that not that many of the Gen 1 were imported. And there just seemed to be a huge following of people that just liked the simplicity of just the fact that it had just these pebbled grips, and everything else was smooth. There was nothing in the way. There was no rail up here to mount lights on. There was not. The sights were very simple. They were just serrations back here for grip, but other than that, the slide was flat. And people really liked the look and the lines of the Gen 1, and it just wasn't really around for long. And then not only that, but as Glock improved through the Gen 2s and the Gen 3s, and they had a lot of improvements. Like even, for instance, the Gen 1, it didn't even have a magazine that was drop free like this. The magazine, you'd have to pull out manually, the magazines were not so great. They had made changes through the years where as much as you might like the looks and the feel of the Gen 1, they were so back in the beginning that there were a lot of other tough things to overcome. So you might fall in love with the feel of it and the look of it, but there were a lot of changes and a lot of improvements that were definitely well received, let's say. So you could look at it like, Glock did agree to do this re-release, but they did not agree to go back to a lot of the more rudimentary things that the earlier Glocks had. They're not gonna, any improvements that they made, like especially safety improvements, they're not gonna go back on. So you could kind of look at this as the best of both worlds, where it has the outward features and look of that classic, that it has that classic Glock look, and the outwardly, but that a lot of the features that were put in as improvements are there also. So it's like the best of both worlds. You know what I mean? And yeah, so what did these guys put on here? It has basically, it's the Gen 1 frame with the pebble texture, the G17 slide markings, the polymer front and rear sights to emulate the original sights. It has the flat extractor on here, and the single pin frame, smooth trigger, no front serrations or accessory rail, and it comes in the original Tupperware style box. It has collector over box packaging, but it comes in like an original Tupperware box, the way the Glock did. The collectors love those when you see these for sale. The big thing about if you're buying a Gen 1, like if you're getting one on Gunbroker, an original one I'm talking about, is like, does it come with the box? Do you still have the original Tupperware box? If you compare this to, here's a Gen 5 Glock 17. It's just like Lola hair all over everything. I'm sorry. If you compare it to the Gen 5, this is it's interesting to see. First, let me show you the frames. Here's how the frames changed through the years from Gen 1, 2, 3, and 4. Don't have a Gen 5 in this photo, but you could see how they went from the single pin frame to the double pin frame. Not enough of a Glock nut to know. I haven't really gotten so far in the book to really find out what this pin change was, but they, in the Gen 5 here, you can see they did go back to this single pin frame. And not only that, but lost any of these finger grips again or whatever. So it's funny how this evolution, the closest thing to the Gen 1s so far have been the Gen 5s. They're the ones that are coming around closer to looking like the Gen 1s. Just the very simple. It's a grippier texture, but it is very similar to just this pebble texture. Of course, it has these adjustable back straps back here. But to be honest with you, I love the feel of the Gen 1. This is one of the reasons why I got it. When I saw this, I was like, well, that's pretty cool. They're re-releasing the Gen 1, but then just putting this thing in my hand and just feeling what that felt like, I was like, yeah, I really, now I see why there really was a draw to them. And it's the closest feel I could come to. I'm sure that this backstrap is the closest to the backstrap size for the, for the Gen 1s, for just let's just say the stock size, And what's really cool is that with Glock, there's magazine compatibility issues for different reasons, whether it has the magazine release button on one side or both sides or something. I don't remember exactly. Again, it's in the book, but like magazine compatibility. But I'm pretty sure that between the 17 and the Gen 1 Classic, my mags are compatible back and forth. They do look the same. They have the same Same clips on the side. So I'm pretty sure that they are compatible. And I love this. I love this Gen 1. I really do. So what do we got here? Let's take a look. Well, first of all, these are realistic snap caps right here. These are not live ammo. These are the only thing that we use here in the Milsurp garage for, say, function testing or just playing around. So the Glock mag, we got a few of them here. I'll load up a few. I'll load up 4 rounds. The Glock magazines, the mags that come with these are obviously the newer mag. And it's the thing about Glocks, just that ultimate reliability and function. These definitely have that. Being that it's all modern production stuff on the inside. Like, for instance, the captured spring here. I don't think these original Gen 1s had a captured spring on the rod like this. Whatever, it was all loose. The spring would come out loose. They're not going to go back to that. But I'm not going to upgrade. See, in my my Gen 5 and all my newer Glocks, I upgrade to these tungsten guide springs, recoil spring guides. Is that what they're called? I forget. But I always upgrade, and then I upgrade these back. I always get the aluminum plates back here to most closely resemble the slide texture back here to get rid of the plastic. But with this guy, we're gonna keep it 100% stock from Glock. The way it wouldn't make any sense to do it any other way, right? But how Glock delivers this as a commemorative, I'm just going to keep it just like this. I'm going to keep this spring with it. And anybody that knows really well, you could tell the upgrades, like the original Gen 1s have a pencil barrel, what they called it. But this is, just the more normal, modern stuff that's going on in here. And anybody that knows Glocks really well, get the Lola hair out. Anybody that knows Glocks really well would know, just by looking at this, all the different changes and upgrades that would be on here for the modern ones. But it only makes sense. I mean, you wouldn't want it any other way. Would you really want to? You don't want to go backwards in, reliability. Let's put it that way. You definitely want it to be as reliable and to function the same as a new one. You just would want it's exactly what you would want. It's just the look and feel, this nostalgic look. People do get fooled by it though too. A couple of times at the range, people were like, "Wow, I never really saw a Gen 1 before," and they're not really aware of this guy. So the box comes in a box that looks like this. This is what the overbox looks like. It has like a magnetic clasp here. That's pretty cool. It comes in this overbox. They said that one of the main reasons why they needed it is because they have to include a lock, and they didn't have room for it in the Tupperware box, so that's why they decided to do it. But this is what all collectibles would have to come with, right? Pretty cool. Pretty cool setup the way they did this. I like it. Here's the Tupperware box, and this they did very close to how the original was. Some interesting things about that I've read. I did read, and then I couldn't find this again. But I did a little bit of research looking around for it, and I couldn't find what I was looking for. But apparently, originally when they released this box, this was like a cone-shaped post right here, where the trigger that would locate the gun in the box. When you put it in the box, this would locate it in there, hold it in place, you know. And they made this like a cone shape, so it would got wider near the bottom, so it would locate the gun in there, so it wouldn't knock around. Apparently, when the trigger was charged like this, you see the Glock has a safety in the center of the trigger. It has to be pressed. So if the outside of the trigger is pressed, it wouldn't be able to fire. But if the finger was on the trigger and it was pressing the center, the trigger would be able to move. Well, apparently, the angle of this was such that when it went in here and it reached the bottom of that taper, it was just enough to press in that safety and either set the gun off immediately as you were setting it in the case, or just depress it enough where that if it got jostled, it would move enough to be able to fire the gun, so that if you actually had it in here loaded, it would go off. Couldn't find that story or that information again, though, to like really get copies of it and read over it. But they have a cool certificate of authenticity here, which is a little odd because this was really signed. You know, Gaston Glock, as I'm making this video in January of 24, Gaston Glock passed away just recently. And if these were actual signed certificates, that could be pretty cool. Those kind of things like that could probably be worth a lot of money. But there's your certificate of authenticity with a original ad from back in the day, 1986 advertisement. Interesting how 1986 was the last year that nobody really knew what a Glock was. You know what I mean? It was the way they exploded after that on the market. Then, of course, there's a... Glock is always good about their documentation, meaning even if it's nice sticker here, 87 best award, U.S. award, best in market. They have an instruction book here specifically just for this specific gun, where I'm pretty sure that even like pictures of it show this actual one. So like they just have a generic instruction manual. See, it even shows the box and stuff like that, you know? It's pretty cool. And I've never really seen instruction books from pistol manufacturers that show exactly how it works and everything, you know? Pretty comprehensive, though. So that's what they give you on the Tupperware box. Pretty nice. You go to the range, you bust out the Tupperware box, you pull that out. Anyone that doesn't know about the commemorative version would be pretty interested. Patents. Let's check out the patent. So the patent is from September 10th, 1985. It's 4539889. You need to check out this patent. If you want to get started in looking at patents, this is a perfect one to do, and I'll tell you why. And it is Gaston Glock from Vienna, Austria. No fooling around here. This is like straight from the man. Why this one is cool? This is a cool patent because Glock patented almost every aspect of this pistol. So when you look through the drawings, it's not like one specific area is the patent, so you're not really sure what you're looking at, what they're writing about. They're talking about everything here. It's almost like they invented a completely new gun. This is why, it shows you why here, just by looking at this, why the Glock was so monumental. It was as important in 1986 as the release of the 1911 was at the beginning of the last century. That's how much of a pivotal design this was. And that's why the story of Glock is so much more interesting, even, you know what I mean? But you could see that everything from the actual gun itself, the recoil, spring, and rod, the way the pin goes through. Here we could see this is the sear striker assembly, right? And like these are the pictures that have numbers that refer to the text. So we'll get to the text later on. And then this here is again, this is more of the striker assembly and the sear release. Interesting stuff going on back here that looks almost like a hammer. You know what I mean? Here's the magazine release. Here's the takedown, the actual takedown mechanism, and the magazine itself. More trigger related stuff, how the trigger connects to the striker. Interesting. And now here's the text, and you see why I say this is a good one to read. Look at the size, the amount of text that describes all of the stuff that you just saw. It's awesome. Just look up US patent US 4539889. Download this PDF form. You can look at it straight up on the internet on your phone. You can do whatever you want with it. But my suggestion is if you have even a little bit of interest in these patents, that's a good one. That one's not going to bore you. Let's put it that way. Next up, I wanted to show you the second edition Book of Glock, Robert A. Sadawi. There is a first edition. It's not any cheaper on Amazon right now than the second edition, so you might as well just go for the second edition. And it's on sale right now on Amazon. What a super cheap book for what you get. This book is fat and glossy pages and full of information. Anything that you need to know about history of Glock is in here. It's pretty awesome. Another interesting thing is the Guns and Ammo 1986 annual. So I thought for sure, hey, I have one of these. This is going to come in really handy. 1986, this was the beginning of the importation of Glock. There's probably going to be like a main story in here somewhere on it. Nope. They're talking about the 9mm Parabellum cartridge of the future. And you would think they're going to be talking about Glock in here. So they're talking about, the origins of the cartridge. And then we got a Heckler & Koch P7, Browning High Power, by far the most popular military pistol in the post-World War II free world. Among the finest handguns in the world are the Petter-designed Swiss Sig P210, Smith & Wesson's Model 459, the Tanfoglio, the Star Model 30, the Beretta. Look at this. I mean, they're talking about the Taurus, the Sig P226. No Glock. This story does not involve Glock. Not anything at all. Even if I go back into like the recap and everything, they're talking about what's available. The semi-auto pistols. I'm going back here to semi-auto pistols. Colt, Detonics. Here's the Detonics Combat Masters in here. God, I love that gun. The Desert Eagle, the Kunin. Kunins are in here. We go right from the FTL Auto 9 to the Hammerly Standard Model 211. We skip over G completely. The LAR Grizzly is in here. Nothing. However, here's what's interesting. You jump ahead to I don't have one, but here's a picture of the 1987 annual. Boom. Yep. And they never looked back. So, Glock 17 Gen 1, how does it shoot? It shoots like you'd expect a Glock to shoot. It's flawless. You could probably go through, you're just using quality ammo. I'm telling you, you could go through tens of thousands of rounds with one of these without so much as a stovepipe. The thing about them is their consistency. And it's so funny because when they first came out, everyone was worried about, like, the thing everybody was worried about was the one thing you didn't have to ever worry about with them, even after just years and years and years of them proving themselves, that people would see the plastic, the polymer, and they would think of the quality issues with it. But have you ever heard of any polymer part of any gun? Forget about Glock, just the material itself is so awesome. But Glock in particular, because they just had a history. Their history was in knowing how government contracts work and knowing how to make things out of this polymer material. And those two things together, knowing how to work with government contracts and being experts at this polymer material, all I had to do was hook up with some really smart gun design people, and and a lot of innovative design of his own. And yeah, there was no looking back. It was like a perfect combination, and something that the world was just ready for. The world was just ready for that polymer steel combination to put together these handguns. And just the striker fire design that Glock came up with was just so revolutionary. It just turned everybody on their head and just changed what everybody else was doing, you know. And they certainly never looked back. And his recent passing is it's kind of sad. It's the company will survive, of course, but it's kind of like the end of an era. You know, he was Glock. You know what I mean? Literally. So that matters. You know, that definitely matters. And he'll be missed. I love these things, and this is no different. I'm glad I got this thing. One cool thing about it, the MSRP on this thing was $669. A little steep for just a Glock 17 with no bells and whistles. But I don't know what it was. I don't know if they just hit the market at a weird time, or people weren't aware of it, or the just the advertising on them wasn't done right, or you know what it is. People, they go in and they see if it was just sitting there all on its own, or you were just buying it at a convention is one thing, or a gun show, let's say, but people walk in the gun store and that Glock is in a case with like 15 others, and they all have various sights on them, and red dots and lights, rails with lasers and lights and all kind of stuff. And then there's the Glock Gen 1 17 Classic just sitting there all by itself with no ability to even attach anything to a rail, and just its basic rudimentary sights and its chalkboard finish, because of course, it doesn't have the Tennifer finish. It doesn't have the shiny or smoother finish of the newer Gen 5s. It's a little less polished. It's as basic as it could possibly come. So maybe that actually hurt the sales. Maybe people are like, yeah, it's kind of cool that they came out with the Gen 1 again. That is kind of cool. What do you want for that Gen 5 over there with the red dots? I mean, that's kind of like what might have been going on. This one was listed on the tag, was like mid 500s, 550 around, so say something like that, 560 something. And Typically with my purchases, it's really tough to tell what I get one individual thing for, because a lot of times I'll just stack on. You get a better deal that way. If you're interested, you just kind of hold off till you get like 2 or 3 things you're interested in, and you kind of lump them all together, and then you just kind of pay in one price. I would say for this, I guess I kind of paid around $500. And that might seem cheap considering what the MSRP was, but I've heard that there's other people that did much, much better even, on them. And, this one is a low number, low serial numbered one. I was kind of happy with that. And I was happy with the price. It's a brand new Glock. And I'm never going to worry about having to recoup my money, regardless of what happens with collector value, because I really doubt I'd ever get rid of it. And it's just going to be, and I'm definitely going to fire it. I fire it, and I'm going to wear this one out the way I wear out all the others. And yeah, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. The Glock 1, the Glock Gen 1 17 Classic. Oof, I don't know why that's hard to say. It shouldn't be. But yeah, garage was freezing. Getting over being ill as can be. But had to get out here and make a video. And glad that I did. See you all soon. Take care. Be back soon with some cool stuff. Later.